When brought up in the conversations of middle upper-class white people, marijuana carries negative connotations. Upper-class whites often look down on the people who use marijuana, but do they even know when or why it was made illegal? Marijuana prohibition began based not of scientific research that said marijuana is harmful, but because of racial fears. Politicians of the West became concerned with the increase of Mexicans in the United States and needed an excuse to kick them out. Marijuana was the answer. Marijuana was first made illegal in Utah in the year 1915. Prohibition quickly spread to other states across the nation. Due to early 20th century media and politics, marijuana is most often associated with racial minorities and low-class whites. Once we realize the history behind marijuana, we will realize how the current reputation of the drug has negative effects on society. Only through legalizing marijuana will there be any improvements in the problems created from marijuana prohibition. Marijuana was made an illegal substance because of racism and the fear of racial minorities. For much of the 20th century, the battle for both legalizing and keeping marijuana legal has waged on. Typically, prohibitionists of marijuana are upper-class whites who view themselves as high-class citizens. Prohibitionists of marijuana look not only at the users, but anyone associated with the drug as low-class, trashy, and typically dangerous. The fear whites have is that racial minorities will infiltrate their neighborhoods. Whites believe the root cause of violence in America is marijuana. Whites fight to keep it out of their neighborhoods, thus, marijuana is kept in the neighborhoods of racial minorities, resulting in much higher incarceration rates for minority groups. If someone has a drug arrest on their record, it becomes nearly impossible to receive federal student loans for college, making it very difficult to get a job. This leaves these people in the streets. As more and more racial minorities reside in the streets, violence and gang-related deaths rise. If marijuana were legalized, it would not only lower incarceration rates, but it would save taxpayers billions of dollars by not having to pay for jail time for people with minor drug offenses. Legalizing marijuana would also result in an entirely new industry that would not only help slash the current federal debt, but would provide millions of jobs, including white-collar employment opportunities. Once marijuana is privatized, Mexican drug cartel, who receives 60% of its revenue from the drug, would collapse. This would decrease violence in both Mexico and the U.S. Even national security would be improved if marijuana were legalized, because without the Mexican drug cartel's trails into the United States, Hezbollah terrorists would have a much harder time infiltrating America. As soon as the identity of marijuana changes, the drug will no longer be associated with racial minorities. Privatizing marijuana would make the drug part of everyday business practice in the United States. Thus, it would no longer be associated with people of color. It would instead be viewed as a profitable commodity rather than a menace to society. In order to make your mark on the fight to legalize marijuana, you can donate or volunteer to groups such as Sensible Colorado. Is it possible that we, as citizens, can push politicians to legalize this natural herb? Yes, we cannabis.